Welcome to the Priority Zero podcast. Stories of service.
Welcome to the Priority Zero podcast. My name is Rusty, and today with us we have Stephen Lockwood. And Stephen is an ex-Australian Army infantry soldier, and he's also planning a great journey across Australia with a journey he's calling the Last Post. He's going around with three mates, travelling around Australia for 15,000 kilometres to raise funds for veterans' mental health. So Stephen, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Hey mate, thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking the time to come, and I really appreciate it. You got a very interesting journey coming up.
Yeah,
we'll get more into that very shortly. But let's start off by giving our listeners a little bit of a background to you and your service into the Australian Army. What inspired you to go down that route?
It was honestly a spur of the moment decision. So I kind of grew up a bit of a tumultuous teenagehood, left home quite young, went off and joined a bloody blokes who built boats and salvage stuff for a year and did a whole bunch of stuff. My parents were like, if you don't go to school, you got to leave the house. And I took off and did some wild things. And eventually that kind of run out. And I went back to living with my old man, my stepfather, and he lived right near Wagga. And he's like, yeah, if you're going to live here, you got to finish school. So I went to school right next to Wagga, and a few months later after moving there, he passed away from an accident we had. And so I was just living by myself in this random country community, and they all got around me and looked after me and got me a place and got me a job. And yeah, I think met one of my best mates growing up, and he'd tried to join the military at Kapuka and had a bung heart, and he was telling me how good it was. And I was like, well, I don't have any parents. I'm 17, 18 years old. I've got little no prospects. Like, what should I do? And we got a coin at the Dudukuma Arms Hotel in Henty, and I flipped a coin. Heads, I joined the military. Tails, I don't. Came up heads, and I was like still tentative about this. And then I just finished year 12, and we were messing around at my mate's farm. I got a bit of a job before I climbed up, and I was like, bugger it, like out there, get no reception. I thought, all right, I was driving back my shitty old Toyota Corolla front wheel drive that smelled like feet. And I was like, all right, well, I rang 13-1901 and they were like, g'day, mate, how you going? And I'm like, well, I want to join the army and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, we'll see you in a week. Come in and do your interviews. And yeah, just flipped a coin. The phone rang. I answered the bloody phone call, and at that time, and like that was 07, like they just started pumping through people. I think between the phone call and getting in was like 3 weeks.
Wow.
It wasn't much. I think my first call, it was like a month or so, but between like doing my med and like my interview and like, standing in front of the flag with your hand up, I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks. It wasn't long. It was just in and out, which was, pretty quick. But
that's very fast.
They were just pumping through people at the time, I guess. Everyone wanted to join too. It wasn't I think heaps of people were joining at the time. Ironically enough, my recruiter in Albury-Wodonga, was Sergeant Hutchinson, who ended up being my very last boss in the military before I left, and he discharged before me. So full circle. He told me there'd be women. He told me there'd be drinking and guns. Wasn't a lot of girls, but there's drinking guns, and it was just, I was a young bloke who just needed direction, I guess, and I found it. So that's how I joined the military.
What made you choose the infantry out of all the different jobs?
Aptitude testing.
Aptitude testing? Yep,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. There's no left and right of arc was narrowed for me pretty quickly, I think.
So you never had your heart set on a specific job. You just sort of said, I'll go in there, do the testing, see how it works, and see what's on offer for me?
To be fair, I knew nothing about the military whatsoever. In my mind, that you were infantry first and you kind of just joined as infantry and then went off to everything else. And my recruiter was infantry, and he was just like, that's the worst thing ever, mate. And I was like, all right, well, you're staunch as hell. I'm tiny, and I believe you. So, yeah, I don't even remember what was offered to me. It was always infantry straight away. I didn't see a point in doing anything else because in my mind, infantry was the only thing that there ever was. And I still believe that. In some part.
It's still surprising to me. I've interviewed a fair few people now, and how many people had no idea they were going to join the military 2, 3, 4 weeks before they went up to join?
Yeah.
It's always, most of the time, it's been a spare of the moment thing. I've had one of my mates, his name's Manny Santos, he was a Marine, and he joined because he was going to get kicked out of home. And he went into the Marine recruiting, tested. They said, nah, you got to come back and study and retest in a month. And he turned around to them and said, look, I'm about to get kicked out of home. I don't care. I'll go to the Army. I'll go to the Air Force. I don't care where I go. And they're like, I think you got what it takes. And they put him in. And he's like, the only thing I don't want to do, I do not want to do combat. I'll clean, I'll cook, I'll do whatever. And they're like, cool. So they signed him up as a rifleman. And he had no idea what a rifleman was until he finished the Marine Corps 3-month training, went on to the rifleman's course. He thought like the rifleman's course was like the armorer where they clean the rifles and fix them. So he had a bit of an oh shit moment in his
gotcha, bitch.
Pretty much.
someone filled his quotas that day.
Absolutely. So where did you first post when you went to? So you went through Kapuka. That's about 3 months in Kapuka.
Yeah,
how did you find that in general?
Kapuka? Well, I didn't have anywhere else to go, so there was no other option. It was just, I don't know. I thought it was very funny. I thought Kapuka was really funny. I played a lot of footy, I guess, growing up, so I just saw it as a bunch of dickheads that played footy, and someone was just yelling at us, and I rocked up the first day. You did a door knock procedure, and I'm clumsy. Like, I hurt myself all the time. Like, I'm just, I'm clumsy as hell, and I stood up and the fire extinguisher fell off the fucking door, like the wall smashed me in my finger. My finger blew up like 3 sizes, the normal size of a finger. I did a door knock procedure and all this other crap. And then I was like, old mate saw my hand and he's just like, what the fuck is that? And I was like, oh yeah, good. And then like, I'm the guy who called bloody the corporal mate and I got berated. Like, I was a young kid who had no direction and I got yelled at a lot. Which was funny, you just learn how to walk real fast in the end. No, Kapuka was fun. We had some pretty cool stories, and I've still got some mates that I went through Kapuka with that I talked to and whatnot. And, we all thought we were just the best. We all thought we were fantastic.
Any memorable moments you can tell us about at Kapuka? Anything that stood out to you?
Oh yeah, there's a few. One of them was like, I reckon. They did a fire drill right in the middle of us having showers. So I'm in the middle of a shower. We've been sent outside in the parade ground to form up because obviously we've had the fire drill or something's happened. I don't know. I can't remember what it was. And I'm out there with a towel that I haven't quite tied on properly. So if you can imagine, yeah.
So, and I'm assuming this is going to be at a cold time of year as well?
Oh, well, so, yeah, I think I joined April. So this would be about May. So middle of winter, near winter in Wagga, freezing. Like I'm not well endowed at the best time, mate. So, and thank God everyone's eyes were facing front. I think someone would have seen me. So I did a bit of a tactical. It was at night time too, so a bit of tactical towel grab and tied myself back off like a white Jason Momoa, and I was pretty well set. So
nice.
What else? We had like remote control cars and stuff. We were like driving around the hallways and just. All sorts of real stupid stuff that we used to do, I think one of the most memorable things I ever saw was this poor bloke who had this like broom that was cut in half. And I think we were Charlie Company at Wagga. And so a poor bloke was out there in the rain, check halting the entire parade ground. Like it was pissing down rain, middle of winter. And this bloke's got this tiny little broom right in front of him. He's just like, check, halt, check, halt. Check, halt, and he was just out there. I think I was like cleaning a tap or something, and he was just out there, just this poor fella. I just remember seeing him like, I walked out 1 hour, came back like 2 or 3 hours later to have a cigarette, and he's out there just still check halting. So that poor fella. I don't know what happened to him. I hope he made it somewhere good.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
How did you feel? Obviously, you said when you went in, you didn't have kind of much direction and didn't really know what you wanted to do with your life. You'd just gone into Kapuka, which would have been a big culture shock for you. How did you feel at March Out?
Oh, marching out for me was proving an emotional time because I had people come, like, after my old man passed away, I didn't really have family and stuff. I had a lot of my friends that I'd grown with, before I joined the military, had rocked up. So it was a rough day in hindsight, reflecting back on it. But I had good people there, and I think it was like really the first sense of achievement I'd ever really had in my life. Like, as a pretty lost kid, I did some pretty stupid shit growing up and followed some wrong crowds. And then before I moved anyway to New South Wales, and I think after that was pretty good. But like, it was more just along the lines of, I had like dreadies, man. I had dreadies to my shoulder before I joined the military. I was a bloody hippie. And, when I joined the military, everyone was like, oh, you won't do that. That's not your style. You don't like authority, blah, 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 blah. And I think that stubbornness and no choice kind of got me through. And then to be at the end and see all the people rock up, my best mates and whatnot, to see that I'd have done something, I could actually do something. I mean, you don't really have a choice, Kabuka. You kind of just like, your mates get you through. I mean, if anyone, everyone who's probably done this podcast with you or is listening to us now knows that half the battle is like, your mates kind of get you through everything because if they're doing it, you don't want to be the one that kind of drops out. But dropping out, I think, was never an option for me anyway because I had nothing really to go back to. But I think it was it was good. It was just a sense of achievement that I hadn't had before. And I don't know, I just felt like a fucking big swinging dick, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
just, Yeah, just testosterone fueled blokes who went out to Wagga and we were, 20 years old singing songs at a pub that I'd already been to because I'd been out in Wagga when I was younger and I knew people there and we were just being, young testosterone fueled idiots and having a great time and it was good. Really good.
So after your Kapuka, you got posted to 2RAR in Townsville, is that right?
So I went to Singleton first.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so Singleton was a bit of a shitty one for me because we had a full stag platoon, so it was like only blokes, and I think most of us were infantry guys. So we had a few dropouts and a few bandies and stuff here and there, but I think most of us were infantry guys. So we were told, I think, from the very start that we were going to do IATs at 2RAR. So we did a thing, and then I got stabbed. I think I got stabbed for a work party or something, and I was off doing something. And I came back, and they'd had like some parade telling everyone they're going to 2RAR. And me and like two other blokes were like, you guys, you're staying here at Singleton to do your IATs. And I was like, fuck my life. So all the boys that I did Kapuka with went off and did IATs at 2RAR. And I stayed back with these two other guys, Edgewood and someone else, Holbrook, I think his name was. And we stayed back and did IATs at Singleton, which was a bit shit. Yeah, I ended up getting post 2RAR anyway. So my platoon sergeant was from 2RAR and he was a really good dude. And I had achieved some, pretty good things at Singleton. I stood out a bit, which is, probably the first time ever. I just wanted to please. And yeah, Singleton was good. It was tough. I remember being tough a long time ago now, but yeah, I made some really good friends there. And we were idiots in Newcastle every weekend. Spent a lot of money on taxis from Singleton to Newcastle, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
And then you got posted up to 2RAR, yeah.
How did you find the difference going from Singleton to 2RAR?
I really wish I had have gone straight with everyone else to IATs, like to 2RAR. I think that I got some really bad habits ingrained into me, staying at Singleton with different people I didn't know. Yeah, I just think that I got a bit lost along the way. So when I rocked up to 2RAR, I guess my attitude it was a bit arrogant, I think, which, got beat out of me essentially a few times. But the culture shock was huge for me because 2RAR was just like, I don't know, 2RAR was just full of hard hitters. Like, there were a lot of really good men there and a lot of like really good formed bonds and the guys who had deployed together heaps and heaps and heaps. And this was a time of like slow turnover. So there were senior diggers had been in for 4 years and 5 years. And these were men, essentially. Like, you go through Kapuka and growing up and stuff, they're all boys. But yeah, 2RAR was just full of men. And I was like, these guys are just hard as hell. Like, and I just wasn't ready for it, I guess. Yeah.
In 2007, this is the time where they're doing deployments to Timor and Iraq, is that right?
Yeah, so I actually joined in 2008. So I did my paperwork in 2007, but I joined in 2008. So I think I got there in November. I think I got to tour in November-ish. And I think from memory, they were going to send us to Iraq. And then because I got there and we were online straight away. So I didn't bail off home. We were doing online stuff and then we did like a few exercises here and there and then on a guard duty. And then, if I remember correctly, we were going to go to Iraq, or that was in the cards. And then they changed it to go to Timor, I think. Which is neither here or there, but yeah, I think I remember like, oh yeah, because like Iraq was on TV and that was like the thing. And I was like, oh, okay, it's pretty nerving. But then, I'd never even heard of Timor. I had no idea it was a place. They're like, oh, you go on here. I'm like, okay, cool. And then, we ended up deploying to Timor and did TLBG 6.
Yeah, and this is
I
during
think it was.
peacekeeping operations, is that right?
Yeah. We just went from base to base. Really did a lot of. I think I was Alpha Company to our.
Had you been overseas before this deployment?
Oh hell no.
No. So how did you going from in Australia and then going to like Timor-Leste or East Timor, where it's essentially a third world country?
I think I was pretty malleable at the time because of the transition from joining the military to go on deployment was just a small amount of time. I had to adapt just constantly anyway to new environment. So it was almost like it was just another new environment. And Timor was it was a little peaceful place and the people were just super nice. So it was just, I don't know. I guess at the time I was pretty like, why are we here? Because I didn't really understand, I think I was like 21. Yep. I didn't really understand why we were there or how the world worked. I just saw it as an exercise that we were doing. And, we did some, patrols and things like that. But like, it was just a real peaceful place and everyone was super nice and people worked super hard there. And I didn't really see it as, I don't remember like being a culture shock. I just remember seeing people, if that makes sense. Like I didn't see them as a different country. I just saw them as people who fucking ate betel nut and had red teeth and were just, I remember like where, I don't remember the base names, for honest. We were in Dili and there was like some bloke who just sold cans of Fanta and Coke and he was there from like, 3 a.m. till like 9 p.m. Some, young bloke. I remember thinking that was pretty hardcore. But I guess I didn't see it as a shock because, you're with all the same people that you joined with from Kapuka. You're with the same people that you did all your training with and everything else. And I guess your circle's real small and you just focus on your circle. Like my section was a good section. Yeah, and that's all I really remember about it. Well, the traveling.
How long did you spend there in total? How long was your deployment?
Oh, I can't remember. It was like 8 months, I think, all up. 7 or 8 months, I think. Nice. I remember we did like our rockle was like 2 weeks before we went home though. We were there for like so long, did our rockle, we were back for like a month and went home. I was like, all right, that's pretty wild. But we're long enough to get rockle, so I think over 6-7 months. Yeah.
Nice. With these deployments, do you do any like pre-deployment training to prepare you before you go over?
Yeah. I can't remember that one too well because, if honest, like at tour, I was a bit of a mess. Like I drank too much, I hung out too much. Like I was a shit soldier at best, if I'm honest. So I kind of just went with the flow and just did as I was told. And I was a gunner, I carried the gun, I walked at the back, and I just tried my best not to be a piece of shit. So
fair enough.
And I failed it in there, but yeah, you do a bit of pre-deployment training. Like as anything, just make sure your medic stuff squared away, make sure your shooting squared away, make sure everyone's real fit. I had a pretty good section commander, Corporal Croft, which I think is Warrant Officer Croft now. He was at 7R, I believe. Last time I saw his face on the video. I had a great section, still good dudes. Some of them are still in. So that kind of just got me through, I guess. We did a lot of walking. I remember we did a lot of pack marching. Yeah, these are the days of like 40k pack marches or something. We're doing something ridiculous like that, yeah, before we went.
How was the temperature difference? I know you're in Townsville, so you still lived in the humidity, but I'm assuming the East Timor was a lot different.
Man, I'm a fat guy at heart, like just sweat. Like I've never liked summer. I'm originally a Victorian, born in winter, and I love the winter, I love the cold. And I didn't even know places like Townsville existed. That wasn't even on my radar. My radar was a small, tiny town, man, outside of Wagga, and that was my world. And going to Townsville and just like, oh, dude, I didn't have boobs back then, but Jesus Christ, I was sweaty. Oh my God. Chafe. I remember chafe was a thing for the first time. Chafe and pythons. Everywhere it's snakes and spiders. And I was like, I'm not built for this shit. Like, stubbornness really got me through my first like few years. And I was just too stubborn to let go. And I was like, what the fuck is this? What's the jungle? Like, I mean, the coolest part was like riding helicopters, like the Black Hawk stuff was like really, really cool back then. I was all about that. And I remember like we were light infantry, so we just walked everywhere and pack marched a hell of a lot. And so that I just lived for the really cool moments that I thought were just cool as hell. And I just tried to, do the best I could and keep my head down. And, I messed up heaps because I was just a bloody airhead of a kid, but I had the right people in my corner hit me in the back of the head when I needed it. So
after Timor, back to Townsville.
Yep.
How long did you spend with 2RAR? Were you there for the duration of your career, or did you repost?
No. See, at 2RAR, I don't know. I had a bad attitude, I think, when I was young. Like I think at that stage I was pretty angry from having a shit childhood, and I just was taking it out in an unprofessional way. And, I was rocking up to work drunk and sleeping in the rooms and just being a real just bag of shit, if I'm honest. And I was like, I need to change this. I need to change the atmosphere. I'm not doing well here, and I need to go do something else. And then they offered us a spot at CTC, which is like this training center where you go and beat enemy and crap. And they're like, if you do 3 years there, you can get a choice of posting. I thought, well, maybe if I can get closer to home and sit with my friends, maybe I can go and, change this attitude around or whatever. So I went over there, and then I went there with one of my best mates, Catalog. Yeah, we just went to CDC. I wasn't a tour out for very long. I think maybe a year and a half, 2 years. I think I was there in total. So good battalion, great dudes, great soldiering. I just had a real shit attitude. So I thought, I better do something about this before I, I don't know, fall apart or bloody get someone hurt, or I don't know. I just felt like a bag of shit there. I wasn't really like doing my job or doing the right thing. So I just made a change.
Nice.
And went to CDC, and I spent 3 years there.
And that was playing enemy party for like training.
Yeah, essentially
training
just professional enemy party.
And...
Yeah, that's what you are, professional enemy party. You just bung around there, and you go outfield a lot. You do a whole bunch of stuff, and that's really it. There's not much more to it. You do courses, you do cool stuff. Like you do some cool stuff. You get trained on different weapons, and you get trained on cool tactics and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, you just help everyone deploy. So when 2RAR deployed, I get to help all my mates go and deploy and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily for courses or training the soldiers in singleton. It's like pre-deployment. They come to you guys for the pre-deployment training. You guys play the enemy party.
Yeah, correct. It can be courses also. Like some people did RMC courses and whatnot. There's quite a few dudes there. So there's a full like command structure. So you might be doing a warfighter at high range, and then you might come back and do like a month in Tully. Then you might go to Canberra and do a month in the middle of nowhere. You're away. Awesome. You're away a lot. You're away quite a lot. But I liked it because it kept me out of trouble. It kept me working. It kept me, doing skills. And you're in a small man team, so you learn a lot of responsibility there. You are detached essentially from what I felt detached from the rest of the military. Like you weren't a real like soldier. You were like, you weren't really an Australian soldier. You were more of like an actor. Like you're just there
like a contractor sort of thing.
Yeah, you kind of felt like you weren't you did all the right. You still did parades. You still did all your BFAs. You still did all your things that you had to do anyway. It's just you're outfield a lot more, and you're just living in it. And I went to Tully a lot. Did a lot of jungle time, and we did cutting tracks, we did war fighters, we did all that kind of stuff, and we did heaps of really cool stuff there, and did a lot of like Coltana time over here in SA, and we did a lot of high range time, and it was good. It kind of beat the shit out of me, if I'm honest. Like I stopped drinking so much and stopped being a bit of an idiot, and it was good for a while.
Nice. And how long did you spend there?
I spent 3 years there, 3 years, so 2012 was my last year in Townsville. I made some good mates that were outside of the military as well, because CDC is full of people from all over the military. So like all units kind of come there. Like, you got arty guys, you got infantry guys from like, 6, 7, 8, 9, etc. So you meet a lot of people there, and I met some good people at the uni that worked at uni and went to uni, and kind of found better friends that were not strippers and weren't absolute messes that were getting me pissed every weekend or every night pretty much. So I calmed down a bit. Yeah, the last year and a half I was there, kind of let a bit of responsibility before I did JLC and stuff like sub 1 on Lavarat barracks too.
Very cool. And where did you go after the CTC?
So after CTC, I chose to go to 7 area down in Adelaide. Adelaide was the closest place to where I grew up. And my old man, my biological father, was from here. So when we were on exercise up in Darwin, on that little oval where all the bloody tent city is, all the buildings were.
Yep, behind Robert.
Yeah. So I got a random phone call one day from some girl. She's like, "Oh, I'm your sister." I'm like, "What the fuck? I don't know who this is." Turns out I had an entire family I didn't even know about on my dad's side. After that, I was like, all right, we'll go to Adelaide. So I posted down here in 7 RAR, and it was just an excellent battalion.
How long? Nice. How long did you spend with 7 RAR?
So I left in 2019.
So you spent quite a decent amount of time in the Defence Force.
Yeah, I think just on 11 years, I believe. Yeah.
That's a decent chunk of your life.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah, I ended up med discharging. I busted my back in CDC. I did some damage to it, doing some stupid shit outfield, and which I rehabbed, and it eventually caught back up with me as I got older. Once you get past 30, these things kind of catch you, and yeah, I think I just lost the love for it, if I'm honest. I tried to get out really quick in 2017, but the medical process just took so long. And I had got. I got a 7 RAR in 2013, and I deployed straight away pretty much. So we went to Afghan 2013, 2014. Yep. August, I think it was. We're there for 6 months. We went to Kabul, and I did some time there. And when I got back, outfield heaps. And, eventually just lost the love for it, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
My injuries just got worse, and, it's just like, well, what do I do about this? Do I try and transfer? Do I try and do other things, or do I just try and get out and be productive and leave the space for somebody else? Don't know. It was a weird time in my life, I guess.
How did you find Afghan compared to Timor? For a completely different job, a completely different environment, and a completely different culture.
Afghan lead up was probably longer than our deployment. So I think we were kind of separated from the battalion. We did this thing called 2 cab task groups. We went to in Darwin a lot, and we were definitely 100% on pre-deployment training longer than we were on the operation itself, because it kept changing what we were doing. And everyone was like, "Oh, you go to Kabul, you're doing something different. You're doing this crazy thing. You're building Camp Cargo, blah, 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 blah." And then there was just all this other crap about these dudes from Pakistan coming over. They're like, "Oh, you're going to die. They're attacking the bases, blah, blah." They're just crapping on about all this other stuff. And I don't know. We just all kind of roll with it. And eventually, I think by the time we were ready to go overseas, we had that many memes stored up about doing MREs. And we did 3 MREs before we even left. We did 1. They were just got to the point where I think everyone was just sick of just the whole thing. And then, we had some issues with my platoon, and we lost our platoon sergeant and a few section commanders all at once due to a thing that happened.
Yep.
An incident anyway. So we ended up losing half our rank structure. I lost my section commander. I was 2 IC. So I lost my section commander. So we ended up picking up a mate of mine, Alex Gardner from 5 RAR. And another bloke, I can't remember his name. I think his name's Richo from 5 RR as well. And they end up joining our little squad. Our platoon sergeant, Sergeant Millen, which is an absolute legendary guy. And it was a different shock. I think the lead up, we had a lot of people just telling us a whole bunch of stuff. These guys. It wasn't even Taliban on the radar, or someone else, and they were just I don't know, making a big deal out of them attacking our base and stuff. So everyone was like a bit on edge for these things that were going to happen. For the most part, it ended up being a pretty uneventful trip. We had an insider attack, but that was one of the other sections. I was on night guard for that, so we do the night shift kind of thing, security of the base. So I missed all that, so I don't have any information really about that besides what they had. And yeah, for the most part, it was just long days. We were severely undermanned, and we just essentially secured a base and did a few road moves here and there. We saw a lot of the inside of the walls. Now, it wasn't like the boys who were doing stuff before us, who were doing patrols and all that. But I remember at the time I was thinking I wanted something to happen. I just wanted to do something so I could tell people I did something. And now I'm older, I'm kind of glad nothing happened. And I guess that's just youth. You want, you train for the footy game for so long, you just want to be able to tell people that you're a hardened war fighter and you got tested. And I guess, now I got older, I'm kind of glad we didn't. I've seen guys who have, had those experiences, had the war fighting experiences and stuff, and some of them had affected them for a long time, and I could never tell if that would have happened to me, so I'm glad I kind of didn't find out at the same time. I feel like we did our job still. I feel like our job was still done, and, the shock was just kind of taken away by the workload, if I'm honest. We were with the British and the Scottish at the same time, so we had these guys who were with, every single one of them had been shot. We had American dudes who were just had severe PTSD moments. So we had these guys around us who had been down south in the dash, and were had all these war stories. And I guess talking to them all the time, you're I don't know if I want that, man. Because a lot of them were just really messed up, and they just weren't having a good time. And I was I don't know if I want that for my friends. My boys that who I'd grown really close to. I was I don't know if I want that for us. And just for us, I think the only thing that really happened was the insider attack. I think there's people, shot at towers, and there was bombs in the city and stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, it was pretty uneventful.
And this was the day's 6-month deployment or 9-month deployments?
No, this was 6 months. I'm pretty sure we were August to May or December to May or something. I can't remember the dates. Yeah,
because I remember early days.
I got a flag, sorry. May to December. There you go. There's a flag on my wall over there. It's got dates on it. May to December 2013. There you go.
Because I remember back in the day when kind of it all kicked off, there was 9-month deployments, and then, lads were coming back not in a good place. And that's a long time to be away from family and a long time to deploy for. And then that's when they changed it. Defense ended up changing it to 6 months.
Our section commanders were part of the 5RR trips over there, and they obviously had some stuff happen, had some incidents and whatnot. And I just remember Alex telling me, my section commander was just he's just glad it was peaceful, and I had a lot of trust in this guy. He's still a really good friend of mine to this day, and as we all are, I guess, as it happens after being in a section for things like that. And he just we had a few chats, personal chats. I won't go details about it because that's his story, but I just saw how some of it had affected him. And I was just I don't want that for any of us.
Yep, I get it.
I guess at the time, you want to do your job and that kind of stuff. But now I'm older. I'm I'm glad it didn't happen for us. I'm glad that, it was safe. Everyone's safe, and, nothing really happened, especially, after what's happened now with, the whole thing being handed back. And, I've got my own opinions on that probably not everyone would share, and, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. So getting back from that deployment, you ended up discharging out of the army after a little bit, is that right?
Yeah, correct. So we got back, 2013, 14, whatever it was, and, we did a few years, a lot of courses, a lot of field time, we did a lot of fun. I had some good sections, and just eventually, my body kind of caught up to me. Well, as I said, we from deployment to the few years after that was real busy. I remember just being away constantly, living on base, you're away constantly, and had a few relationship breakdowns and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just getting real tired, real tired. And then my body kind of started shutting down. I was just I need a break. My mind was shutting down, my body was shutting down. And I just, I try to always be the jovial, upbeat kind of person who kind of keeps the section going when, you're pat marching and telling jokes and whatnot. But I guess that I started to fail a bit myself, and I guess I knew my time was up a bit earlier than it ended up being a few years earlier. And yeah, once my back started to hurt, my knee started to play up, I was like, all right, I'm going to start looking after my body a bit more. I'll do this forever. And then, yeah, I just started doing some rehab stuff, taking care of my body. And I was like, maybe I'll start looking at discharging. So I started going through the process of it. And, it took a while because the process back then just took so long. Well, it's so long to do.
Did you know what you wanted to do when you discharged?
I had no idea. No idea. I was hoping it'd find me. I just tried to find a job, really. Ended up being an apprentice plumber, of all things, because I thought, I left this manly style job. I need to go and do something else. It's like, this level, or, I won't have succeeded in anything. I was like 31, 32 at the time, whatever it was. I was like, I need to find something to do, like, that's on that par. And so, yeah, I just applied for jobs. I applied for plumbing apprenticeships, Sparky apprenticeships, and all that kind of stuff. And when the time come, I was like, all right, jump on that. So I think I ended up discharging on February 5th, and I started my apprenticeship February 6th, and I was on base the next day.
Working on the base.
Apprenticeship. I was on seminar the next day because it's just, I left the base and I was like, all right, that's me done. That's my army time done. And my mate of mine, Sam Duncan, was on guard the day I left. And then the next day I rocked up in my new job at 6:30 in the morning, got my uniforms, put them all on. We went straight back to seminar and Sam was on guard again. I was like, g'day, mate.
That must have been a strange feeling, eh?
It was, yeah, because I just left. I was like, I saw a few of the boys and we were fixing some of those pipes that the Alpha Company, the bloody pipes used to always burst, and we were up there fixing a pipe, and I was like, fair enough. So, yeah, I spent the next, few years working on base as a plumber, and I hated that. I hated doing that, but,
Well, you've come a long way since then. You did mention to me you're studying at the moment.
Yeah, so I started uni at the same time, like the same day I left, I started uni as well. So I started on a health science degree because I wanted to do uni. And I think that when you leave the military, you try, I don't know if it's on purpose intentionally, but you try and make up for all this lost time. That makes sense. You spend so much time away doing things that you had to do. And I left the army. I was like, well, I'm 31. I've got nothing to show for myself besides, a couple of shiny things that they put on a fucking shelf. But nothing really else to show because, you don't really get many tickets that I thought from infantry. So I was like, I better do something. So that's why I did the plumbing thing. And while doing that, I hated it. And something came across and I got an email and I go through because I med discharged. And I was like, all right, well, am I allowed to work one? That was the thing. And then digging holes and stuff just killed me even further because I got a back injury. Killed me. And I worked and tried and I got depressed. I got depression and I got fat and drank and all the other stupid things, and I was falling back in this wallowing self-pity again. And my partner at the time, who I was with when I discharged, she was unhappy. COVID happened at the same time as well. And, we were a plumber, so we were essential workers. So we're working long hours being an apprentice. Then, yeah, this offer came across and they were like, do you want to study at uni full time? I'm like, I'd love to do that. So, yeah, DVA had this program at the time, which they no longer run, unfortunately, where they, assist you going through university. So
Nice.
I took the chance up. I, applied for it. They accepted me. Here I am, almost finished my degree. So been very lucky in that respect. I'm very, very grateful for the opportunities I've been given by, I guess, the universe has thrown a lot at me, even though I probably didn't deserve most of it. Yeah, I've been very lucky in a lot of ways to be where I am. Uni's been a lot of work, but I'm doing something I enjoy doing. I'm studying neuropsychology with the intent of doing pain science because I know a lot of blokes are in pain, and I'd like to go back full circle one day and help people that are in the military and, I don't know, do something positive because, as I said, I got real lucky.
That's a very honourable thing you're doing.
I don't know if it's honourable, mate. It's just, I was given a lot. So, I said I wasn't a great soldier. I was never a great soldier. I was never above and beyond. I had a very, very average, ordinary, boring career that, could be summed up in one sentence. It was okay. I was there. did my job and just trying to find my way the entire time, I guess. And seeing that I've been lucky, lucky enough to deploy, lucky enough to make a lot of friends, travel a bit in the military, do some pretty good things. And here I am, just, I don't know, trying to do something positive, I guess.
Look, I can definitely understand where you're coming from, but someone, in my opinion, that joins the defence signs a contract including up to their life, right? Let's not beat around the bush. Doesn't matter which branch you join, doesn't matter what job you do. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
You deployed to East Timor, you've deployed to Afghanistan, you've given so much for Australia and our community. I just want to say thank you, man. That is not a small thing to be able to do. Most people don't do that.
Well, I think most people probably join because they want to have some altruistic reason. I didn't have that. I had the flip a coin at the pub and I had no other option. I kind of just stubbornness and alcohol-fueled rage just kind of got me through the rest of it. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about thanking people. I don't know about that. I did a lot of it for me, if I'm honest. Like at the time, I was like, I'm going to defend Australia and do all the things, and and then in some part there was probably some truth to that, sure. But it's just I don't know if it's a thankful job. It is thank me for it, mate. It's just heaps of people have done it. Heaps of people have done it far better than me. And then all the blokes that I've served with and stuff, maybe thank them. They're fantastic human beings, and I'm lucky to be around them and get to know them, and probably hinder them at some point.
All right. Well, you've got this massive adventure that you're planning. And again, for a very selfless reason, and a reason that's very, very close to your heart and a lot of people's heart, I think. Tell me a little bit about the last post. Tell us first, what is the last post about? So
the last post is about what I was speaking about before. It's about our versions of success and failure after our military, police, or ambulance service life. We'll even include fireys because they do calendars, but they're still people too. No, I've got a lot of good mates of mine now. Fireys are pricks. They're having a good time driving around the big red trucks.
That's it.
No, it's about. I mean, to explain what it's about, I have to explain where it come from. As I said before, I've been phenomenally lucky, probably far luckier than I've ever deserved in life and in my career and whatnot. And I was probably my second year at uni, maybe first year at uni, and I was having a chat with my best mate, who actually lives around the corner from me here in Freeling, in our small little town. And we were having a chat one day, and he left the military a year after me, and I was navigating and stuff, and he was like, mate, I want to find a thing, find a thing. And this guy is opposite to me in every single way. He's a really, really good dude. He's phenomenal with his hands. He's just a real good temperament. He's got a giant penis, and he's just a really good dude in every respect. And I think everyone who meets him loves him. His name's Michael DeJoric, and he's just one of the all-around good blokes. And we're having a chat in my kitchen, and he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, why don't you go to uni and be a paramedic? Because this guy was like, combat first aider, phenomenal at acquiring stuff. He was in my section overseas, and if I needed anything, it was there. Yeah, he's just an all-round good dude, and I was just like, I'm not smart enough to go to uni. I'm like, what do you mean, mate? He's like, I'm not smart enough, I can't do this. And I've been at uni for a year or so here, and if you've been at uni, you don't need to be smart to go to university. You just need to work and just read the things they give you and just tell them in a few months what the things they gave you were. And I just know that he'd be good at it because he was just sucks in that knowledge. And he already had a lot of it from doing a lot of it. He'd done a lot in the military. Had a chat, and I just thought, he's like, I've not done anything in my life. And I'm like, this man, he's deployed just like me. He's he started at 5'7". He moved to Adelaide with 7 RAR. He deployed both to Afghan and Timor, courses, he's a real good dude. And he, had a wife, and he got a young bloke named Zach and all this thing. And he's like, I haven't really done anything with my life. I've not succeeded. I'm like, what do you mean, mate? Like, what's your measure of success here? And he's like, oh, you've got to do things. I'm like, mate, you've got a life. You got a family. All this stuff, you've got family stuff happened after our trip. So he's done all this since our trip. And you've found things that you're passionate with. You've got a house here, your family got a farm up the river, and you've achieved so much. And it just made me think to myself, what's my measure of success? Like, what is his measure of success? Like, what's all of us? Like, and my boss, who was my recruiter, Ron Hutchison, when he discharged, he was having a real hard time, and he gave me a book, and this is going to sound so pretentious, and I'm sorry, but I've got to say it anyway. And he gave me this book, and it was Man's Search for Meaning, and it was a book by Viktor Frankl. I'm sure most men.
Frankl, yep, I read that one.
Yeah. I mean, which partially inspired me to do neuropsychology, if I'm honest. Like, and he says that on the lines. I'm not going to say the word for quote, but if you give a man any why, he'll give you any how, essentially. And I thought that just stuck with me. I thought, well, that's it. Like, success is purpose. Like, and we all have this idea of what purpose and what success is, and it's not the same for everybody else. But at one time, it was one mission, one mind, one goal, and it was this thing. And after you leave, you need to kind of reset that mind. Like, I tried to do the one mission, one mind, one goal, because everyone was like, you need to be a tradie after you do military. You need to go and do a trade. Like, you got a soldier on work conference, and they're like, go and do a trade. You're like, fuck off. All right, sure. But I'm not a tradie. I'm never going to be a tradie. I'm a creative person. Stifle my creation by putting my hand in the fucking toilet. Like, and that was my success. It was just not doing that. I'm a naturally inquisitive mind. So I want to go and find answers. I want to go and answer questions. I want to go and learn things constantly. That's my success, is learning. And I just had the idea of, well, what's everyone else's? And how do I ask that question? As I said, I didn't have an amazing career. I didn't make, a million friends. I wasn't part of the boys group that exists. And, fair enough. That's on me. And I lost contact with pretty much all my mates in the military when I discharged, because I was just, so flat out trying to be somebody else. I thought, well, how do I ask the question? How do I do this? Last year, a friend of mine, Jack, other member of our group, he put a thing on Facebook about riding rickshaws across the Himalayas. And I thought, all right, well, my girlfriend, who was with me through the military and through my last few years, her and I broke up because I was in a dark place. I wasn't happy. My life was just shit. And, all this change just all happened at once. And I was like, well, why not just do something like that as well? So I jumped on board. Jack was one of our crew commanders in Afghanistan and Kabul. That's how I met Jack. He was from 2CAV. I jumped on board. And we did this amazing trip from the Himalayas on a rickshaw, 3,200 kilometers across the Himalayas and across India to Jaisalmer. And it was amazing. Had a great trip. And I thought, I want to do something like that again. Had this idea about riding bikes around Australia. Jack's ridden bikes across Nepal, done some really cool things. DJ and I, we ride motorbikes together here in Adelaide. And I thought, why don't we ride motorbikes around Australia? And then we thought, why don't we do it on postie bikes? That'd be pretty stupid. So then, this idea was formed that we ride motorbikes around Australia and ask people that we've met through the military and then what their success means to them. Because I've met so many amazing people. Like, you meet a lot of my friends and my girlfriend here. My girlfriend's a police officer. She's doing her jobs like the rest of us, in wearing a uniform. And now I'm a WAG, which is, a humbling experience now. But you meet these amazing people, and my world is full of amazing people. I did the Warrior Games, did the Invictus Games. I've been so lucky to meet, blokes who are over west, blokes who are over east, blokes who are up north, like Marines and Special Forces. Like, you've met them all, and these guys are just amazing guys, and they've all got this thing in them, and they're just interesting. Are they athletes? Are they quadriplegics who are trying to climb fucking Everest? Like, and they're all just have one thing in common. We all wore a uniform.
Yep.
And when they're left and we're trying to do these amazing things, like, I'm not trying to do amazing things, but I want to highlight people that are, because they deserve to have that story told. They deserve to know this. And for people who are, we've lost along the way. We've all got mates in the military who aren't with us anymore, who lost the fight because they didn't have meaning. They didn't have purpose. They left the military and lost the boys and didn't have a support network. And I had the support network, and as I said, I'm very lucky to have that and have my good mates around me, both military and civilian mates. And I just want to highlight that for either the generation coming through now and the future generations to come after us, because they will keep coming after us. And if we can make a film, we can share a story and grow a community that doesn't just go, all right, mental health's a problem. Like, of course we fucking know mental health's a problem. We all know that. You don't need them in the military to know mental health's a bloody issue. But we also know the statistics are against us. Like,
Yep.
We're 33% more likely to be unemployed. We have phenomenal statistics that go against us. And everything I see just attacks those statistics. And I think through my degree, in psychology and through learning after a decade in the military, and you can't attack the problem itself. You need to attack the things that are the root of the problem. And I think the root of the problem from the statistics that I've seen is that when we leave the military, we lose our purpose. And it doesn't matter what uniform you wear. It can be a blue one, a green one, a fucking red one, or a bloody military uniform. It doesn't matter what it is. At some point, you're running towards a thing that no one else runs towards. And eventually you find yourself very alone with no one running beside you. And I think a lot of dudes find themselves in very small towns that are by themselves, and they might lose their meaning. They might, like me, for example, I felt like I was a burden on people around me because, sure, when I was in, I had a role and I had a job, but now I'm out, like, I don't really have much to offer anybody besides, I can shoot a rifle, I can shoot a gun. Great. Well, there's no need for that, is there, when you're fucking putting your hand in the toilet? So it meant nothing. So I guess if we can show people that you don't have to follow this like textbook, you can leave the military and find things that mean something inside of you. And that's just as important as any other mission you've done before. That's no less important than deploying to Afghanistan. That's no less important than, fire and moving. It's no less important than saving a life and being a paramedic, because at the end of the day, by finding purpose, you are saving a life. And that might be your fucking own. It might be someone that you know next to you. And I sound like a wanker saying this, but if we can definitely highlight this by filming these people who have had these struggles, because what we look at, especially with social media and the news and movies and stuff and all these books all the Saskats are writing, like, we see these guys who are at the end of the result. We need to look at the story in the middle.
Yep.
We need to look left and right of arc, and we need to attack that. And I think if we can show people that finding the meaning of success and failure and finding their purpose and giving that man or woman or, in the middle, your sense of meaning, maybe we can reduce those numbers. Maybe we can have something that starts something else. And I think art is a really phenomenal way and a great medium to get those things out there. We've got guys at the War Memorial doing photography. We have amazing dudes doing comedy right now. We have the guys at War Pick Productions on social media who are making war fun again. Not that war's fun, but making the training videos fun. And like they're finding their purpose and their expression while they're in the military. And a purpose and a success or ideation of success is just an expression of your individualism. And I think that we need to find that and show people that they can have that after the life in the military. And I hope that by making this film and highlighting the individuals that we meet across Australia, the people that we interview, the people that we just don't interview as well, to show the guys and the girls and the in-between that coming after us that there is success after the military. There is success after the uniform, and what we do in the uniform doesn't define us for the rest of our lives. It can be other things. And I hope that we do something positive. And at the same time, I get to ride motorbikes with my best friends around Australia.
How cool is that?
I get to once again do something that I love to do with people who I love. And I now have the support of thousands of people, and I have the support of the defense community, because I think that we all understand that this needs to happen. This needs to be said, and if we can do it to the best of our ability, then I'm fucking obliged to. And I will try my hardest. And I'm working every day to, figure out microphones. Like when I left the military, I had no idea how computers work. I finished high school by fucking hand. I had my pen license in my pocket at all times,
Yep, I get it.
And now here I am, like I'm, just half messed up Skype this morning. I've got a GoPro camera in front of me, which I don't even know how to bring the field view in. Like,
we're all learning, we're all moving forward, man.
That's it. And I just think that I'm lucky that I've found my thing. I like making films. I love doing stand-up comedy. I love learning. And I'm very lucky, as I said time and time again, I think myself every day, I'm very lucky that I've found my direction and I found my purpose and I have love around me and I have people around me that I adore and adore me. And I just hope that we can all have that. That every single person on the planet has that because everyone deserves it. And if we can highlight that and meet some amazing people on the way and tell their amazing stories, like I have some amazing people on this thing already lined up. And I have, Erin in Brisbane, who's an excellent athlete, but she's also an excellent mum, and we have people who support people like idiots like me. There's people behind us because without those people, how the hell could we have ever deployed? Because someone looks after our pets.
Yep.
Someone feeds us, someone sends us care packages. So we highlight those people as well. And I don't know, if we do all this, we do it properly, maybe we'll do some good. And I really, really hope we do. And I hope it's not comes across as I'm self-serving or pretentious, because that's not my fucking intent. And I don't get anything from this. I'm not getting paid from this. I'm very, very financially invested in this. But yeah, what's turned as an idea of riding motorbikes around Australia is hopefully going to be one of the biggest projects that any of us do.
I think this is great. How long are you expecting this to take you, the 15,000 Ks?
So everyone's got jobs, so we try not to do it too long. I thought about it doing, symbolic and having a day for every person that we lost in Afghanistan, but I don't know if that's too pretentious. I don't know if it detracts from our meeting. A lot of guys, like the 42 for 42 guys, are doing amazing work over there, and I don't want to do anything that's, I don't want to step on anyone's toes or, I don't want to seem offensive to anybody. So I'm just trying to do the best I can in the middle. And we're hoping for about 40 days. So 40 days, it's about $350 per day on postie bikes, give or take. We're also going to need a lot of time to interview and film people. And, we're doing a podcast, a YouTube series, and a film at the same time.
Yep.
We have a lot of moving parts. We're going to be filming and interviewing people in every capital city, which is the plan. It makes sense to us to do it that way.
Absolutely.
And just trying to punch out the middle parts as best as we can. Yeah, so 40 days is the plan. That's the fingers crossed. Be finished by 1st of December.
So how can people support you?
So with all good things, we're looking for funding as always. So we need sponsorships. We have our social media, which is the last post on Facebook. Facebook's where most of our demographics are. So we reach out to a lot of a lot of Vietnam vets as well. We're trying to get everyone kind of involved. We have a big reach on there so far. We've been open for about a month. So they'll find us through social media. They can reach out to me personally on my social media as well. We're on Instagram as well, the last post, underscores between each word. We have sponsorship details. We have amazing charities involved with us as well. We have Young Veterans as our partnership charity, and we have Andrew Russell Veteran Living Centre in Adelaide as partnership charity. They're both doing amazing work in their own right. So make sure you definitely go and support them as much as you can, because they're diggers who support diggers. That's all this whole thing is. And yeah, you'll find us. We have a website being built at the moment, which will be out very shortly, hopefully. And yeah, that's us.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing all that. And I'll definitely tag, once this episode goes up, I'll definitely tag the last post in there.
Thank you.
This will come out, I think, in January. So hopefully have your website up and running there. I'll tag the website too. And If anyone obviously wants to come on board and help, definitely check out those pages and get in touch with them and, donate, share the pages, like them. It'll, little things like that can go a long way in getting the word out, basically.
Yeah, that's it. We know that the bigger we are, the bigger we grow, the more sponsors will jump on board, the better the quality, the better the thing we can reach. Our plan is to put things on the Festival of Veteran Arts. We have the Australian National Veteran Art Museum as well involved, and yeah, the bigger our community is, I don't like social media at all, but it's our best way to reach everybody. and get everyone involved. We're just doing the best we honestly can. But yeah, the bigger our reach and the bigger our community grows, the better quality we can do and the more good that I think we can do, because the more people see it. That's the thing. We're making a thing we want people to see.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for coming on, mate. It has been a pleasure to meet you and chat to you today and share your story, buddy. So best of luck on the adventures, and we'll definitely catch up when you're in Darwin, if not beforehand.
Definitely, 100% we'll be out there. It's going to be very hot. We're going to be very sweaty. I'm going to drop a lot of weight before we go.
That's it. All the best, buddy. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Thank you for tuning into the Priority Zero podcast. We greatly appreciate your dedicated listenership. If you are interested in being featured as a guest on our show, we welcome you to reach out to us through our official channels on Facebook or Instagram. Alternatively, you can contact us via email at contact@priorityzero.com.au. We value your support in helping us spread these compelling stories to a wider audience. Kindly consider liking and sharing these episodes, as it plays a crucial role in our mission to reach as many people as possible.